new Premier League season is well underway, which means it might be time to start making some transfers. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and it's time to sort out those good moves from those potential traps. Let's get going. Okay guys, another tier list video today. Firstly, do want to quickly say, obviously I haven't uploaded in a few days. There is a reason for that, and I will explain that at the end of the video for anyone who cares, but I think we get stuck into the FPL stuff first and foremost. So we're doing a transfer tier list video, and we're going to be categorizing the most popular FPL picks based on how good they are to bring into your team right now. Now, we're not rating the players and their ability, we're rating them as transfers for your FPL team. We're going to be doing a few differentials at the end, but let's first of all start off with the 20th most popular transfer in at time of recording, and that's actually Pedro Porro, who I think we need to put straight into the risky category because he is quite risky considering we do have a potential injury for him. So be aware of that. If you have Pedro Porro, he's probably worth keeping unless we get further news about his injury. The problem is, yes, he had a brilliant game week 1, scoring, getting that 9-pointer, but he could be okay for the next game against Everton. If he isn't, then the fixtures after that, they're going to be Newcastle and Arsenal back-to-back, which are not great fixtures for Pedro Porro, and probably we'll see Spurs concede a few goals. So a risky pick there. Next up, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I think is a great buy if you can afford him. He's always good, he's creative, and it looks like he is back to his old self in the system that Arne Slot is playing his fullbacks. The problem is with Trent is, can you afford to make a Trent move in one transfer? The answer is probably not, to be honest, and therefore if you have to take a -4 to get Trent in, it's probably not worth doing. But if you can get him somehow, great buy. Yeah, absolutely. Similar situation with Isak. Think he's definitely a player you want to be going for in your team right now. Another player who is always a good pick. Kind of said this before the start of the season, and that is going to continue. Moving on to some slightly more popular players still, and we've got Chris Wood, who I think right now is probably solid. Now, do be aware that Awoniyi is back, ready and fit for Nottingham Forest, and Nketiah is kind of rumoured to be signing for Forest as well, which could damage Wood's minutes, who, to be fair, as a player, his minutes were always riskier a little bit longer term. But in the short term, I think he is solid. We've got Southampton next, which is a great fixture, then Wolves, again, great. After that, Liverpool and Brighton in game weeks 4 and 5, and I think that's the kind of time you might want to think about removing Wood from your team. So solid in the short term if you want to go for him. Obviously started very well. I think Jamie Vardy is a little risky, to be fair. He is back, party time is back in the Premier League, as we have seen from game week 1, and he could have okay minutes whilst Patson Daka is out injured, and that's going to be for a little while as well. But I just feel like there's always some risk here. The fixtures aren't amazing for Leicester, and I don't know if Vardy plays 90 minutes every game, even when Daka is out, unfortunately, just because of his age and fitness. These things come into play for players. Couple of avoids next. Onana is going to be the first player here. Obviously scored well as a 5 million midfielder in game week 1, but there's a reason why he is a 5 million midfielder. He doesn't typically score very often. He only scored 2 goals all year last season and just 1 goal the year before. It's just not his job. It's not his role. He's more of a defensive midfielder, so I don't think he is really worth going for in your FPL teams. A lot of you guys will know this already, but if you are newer to FPL, please don't try and judge Onana on that one game week. A lot of hype will come around him naturally because he scored a lot of points in game week 1, but that is unlikely to happen very often. So don't fall for this trap. If you want a 5 million Villa midfielder, Rodgers is definitely your man, judging from that first game. He looked really good. Joelinton, similar situation. Another pretty low goal volume player. Not quite as bad as Onana, but he is 1 million more expensive at 6 million. 2 goals and 1 assist last season in 15 starts, so we're not expecting him to be a player who regularly contributes to those goals. It will happen occasionally, but probably not worth going for. Maybe game week 1 was a bit of an anomaly for him, so another avoid there for us. But we're going to move on to a player who I am feeling a little bit more confident in, and that's Kaoru Mitoma, and I'm going to put him in solid. I think the fixtures prevent him from being any higher than that, but looking through the numbers from game week 1, Kaoru Mitoma actually right at the top. He put up the best underlying numbers, but with a 1.12 expected goals in that opening fixture, which is really nice against Everton. 4 shots in the box and 2 big chances for him as well. So looking really, really direct, perhaps back to that guy who we fell in love with in FPL a couple of years ago. Solanke is interesting. I don't think he's a great buy at this point. I'm happy to put him in the solid category. Minutes, I think, will build for him. He will get better and better as he fits into this Spurs system more and more. The problem is the next fixture is against Everton, who struggled in game week 1, but last season there was a lot of evidence to suggest that Everton are a stronger defence. They do sit back a little bit more, could make it difficult for Spurs, but that may suit Solanke and his type of play. After that, we have Newcastle and Arsenal. So the tough fixtures for Spurs are coming very soon. And if you were to go for Solanke, it probably should have been in game week 1 with that great opening fixture against Leicester. That's now in the past, so I think we maybe are cooling a little bit on this one. Xerxes is risky, no doubt about it. I'm still not 100% sold on his minutes yet. I would like to see him start at least 1 game before going for him. We've got Brighton next, which I think is going to be maybe a little tough considering their great start to the season. And then we've got Liverpool in game week 3 after that. However, we do have Southampton in game week 4 for Manchester United. And maybe by that time, we've got a bit more information about who will be starting as the striker, long term for Manchester United, and he can gain a bit of form, gain a few more minutes. We'll know more about him and how he fits in, and I think that might be the time to go for him. So for now, risky, a little bit early to go for Xerxes for me, but I'm keeping an eye on him. Game week 4 could come and look good. Nick Pope is going to go in the avoid category, not because he is a bad pick, but because goalkeeper transfers, they're just not worthwhile. The fixtures are okay in the short term for Newcastle, but they do look worse longer term. And if you do only need a short term goalkeeper, because maybe you're going to wildcard soon, then perhaps you can just wait until you wildcard before changing your goalkeeper. Typically, goalkeeper transfers don't gain you many points. They're very, very rarely worth it unless you get super lucky with a penalty save. And even in some difficult fixtures, another goalkeeper can get some save points and do quite well there. And I just feel like you only really need to change a goalkeeper in your team using transfers if you have a goalkeeper who literally will not play. And I think for most of you guys, you're going to have at least a playing goalkeeper. If you've got Pickford, for example, and you're thinking about removing Pickford, I think it's a little bit early to remove him from your team. We've only had 1 game week's worth of information, and Pickford will make saves. We know he struggled a little bit at the start of last season for points, but it quickly picked up, and he ended up being the best goalkeeper in the game by the end of the season. Josko Gvardiol next. I think he's probably a great buy. We've got a great fixture against Ipswich next, and the fixtures after that are pretty good as well. West Ham and then Brentford. After that, it does get a bit tougher. I'm still not fully convinced Gvardiol will play in a super attacking role, and I own him, so I'm not saying this with bias. I would love him to be more attacking, but I'm not quite sure that Pep is going to be setting up in that system quite yet. I hope he does. We'll see what happens there. He's still a great buy, but I don't think he's quite an elite pick until we get more information. Erling Haaland is a really tricky one. If you're on a wild card right now, for whatever reason, in Game Week 2, you hate your Game Week 1 team, you want to refresh with a wild card, then Haaland would probably be the first player who I would buy. I think he is the perfect captain for this week and a potential triple captain option as well. Real big opportunity here for you guys. But if we're totally honest, if you're using transfers alone to buy Haaland, it probably means you're taking -4s in order to do that. So if you started the season without Haaland, you probably don't bring him in. You've kind of committed to that. Don't think it's worth a -4. So I think it's risky. If you're taking a -4 on Haaland, it's risky. If you're wildcarding him in, he's a must-buy. Difficult player to place. We'll put him in must-buy, but hopefully with that explanation, you know how I feel. It all depends on your situation, I suppose. But yeah, I would love to own him for Game Week 2. He'd be my #1 player to own in Game Week 2. Don't get me wrong there. Danny Welbeck is risky for sure. So, obviously started the season well, but Jorginho Rutter has just signed for Brighton. João Pedro can also play up front in the striker position. We've got Evan Ferguson now fit as well. And the next two fixtures are Manchester United and Arsenal. So I think this might be another player to monitor, see how his minutes look over the next few weeks. And then you can maybe go for him in Game Week 4 against Ipswich. That could be pretty interesting. Right now, I'm worried. I'm worried about the rotation and the minutes, and yeah, there's just so many attackers at Brighton right now who can play, and there's only a few of them really who I think are nailed for minutes. I wouldn't even include João Pedro in that category. Now, Bernardo Silva is not usually a player I love to pick, but I think he is solid. We've got some good fixtures coming up. He will get the occasional goal or assist, usually every 2 or 3 games. And maybe, you know, in good fixtures like Ipswich, he could do even more. But minutes, I think, should be good for now. We see that Gundogan might sign for Manchester City, which might reduce Bernardo's minutes. He can play in a variety of positions as well. He's okay, but he's not going to be a game-breaking player, in my opinion, particularly over the longer term. Bukayo Saka, again, another player who is always a great buy, always a player who you want to have in your team, I think, or at least would be happy to have in your team. Great start to the season, really well taken goal and assist, actually. Not a must-buy against Villa next, who obviously Villa beat Arsenal twice last season, but I think he can do well in this fixture, so I still think he's a very good player to own. I'd be more than happy. Salah, similar situation to Haaland, isn't it? You know, if you have Haaland, but you want Salah, then probably just keep Haaland. If you have Salah but you want Haaland, you probably just keep Salah. Whoever you have, you keep them. The thing is, and the reason why I'm not going to put Salah in the must-buy category, I think if you're picking a premium to own now, you probably go for Haaland, because Salah, he's already had his great fixture. That's already happened against Ipswich in Game Week 1. He already did, you know, exactly what we thought he would do in Game Week 1. And now, if you didn't go for him in Game Week 1, you may have missed the boat on that particular haul, I suppose. No doubt he will get some more big scores, but I think Haaland is probably the guy to go for against Salah. Not worth multiple transfers, not worth a hit to bring in, and for that reason, he can't go any higher than that. Diogo Jota, I really like him. Really do like Diogo Jota. Whenever he's fit, he's amazing. He's playing striker at the moment for Liverpool. 2 big chances in Game Week 1. Really unlucky not to get a brace in that game with 0.95 XG. And he always overperforms on his XG as well. And his minutes also look pretty secure at the moment. Darwin didn't even get off the bench in Game Week 1. So I think Diogo Jota is secure for now. He's impressed so far, and I think that will probably continue until maybe he picks up an injury. But he's not injured yet. He looks amazing, and I'm really happy to own him in FPL, and so should you guys be if you do already have him. Kai Havertz, I think, is another great buy. Lots of great buys today, guys. Yeah, really impressed with him in Game Week 1. Looks like he has continued his good form from last season. Not a must-buy against Villa, but if you really wanted to sell Watkins for whatever reason, I don't think you have to sell Watkins, but if you really wanted to, I would be tempted by Kai Havertz as a replacement there. I really would think he looks, you know, outside of Haaland and maybe Isak, Havertz looks like the pick of the bunch, that real nice third forward to go for, despite that 8 million price tag. Really nice. And that brings us to the hype player of the week before we do our differentials, and that's Mazraoui. Oh, I think I'm comfortable putting him in the solid category. And given how many people are transferring him in, I think he is maybe a little overhyped for a couple of reasons. I think he did look solid in Game Week 1. That's why he's in solid. Clean sheet for Manchester United, 2 bonus points, and the Man United defence does look improved this season, so definitely one to keep an eye on. But no attacking actions from Mazraoui in that game. No key passes, no shots. Could he be clean sheet dependent? Maybe. And if that's the case, well, next up we've got Brighton away, which is okay, but not amazing. Then Liverpool, then Southampton, which I like. Then we've got the likes of Crystal Palace, Spurs, and Aston Villa all in a row. So I think over the next 5 game weeks, we've got maybe some potential clean sheets there, but I'm not totally convinced by it yet. He's solid, but I'm not quite ready to put him in that elite category with some of the other players you see higher on this tier list. So Let's do some differentials now. Some players who aren't necessarily the most popular players, but players I think you really should maybe consider buying. First of all, for a cheap midfielder, Smith-Rowe looks really good. Nice fixtures coming up for Fulham. Like, this is where Fulham have like the amazing fixtures, back-to-back fixtures against newly promoted teams, which is going to be really, really useful for them. And Smith-Rowe, I think he's going to build his minutes up slowly and be really effective for Fulham. So, yeah, I like him for a cheap midfielder a lot. Particularly now we've got that Manchester United fixture out of the way. Anthony Robinson, another Fulham player, would go in great buy for me. If I'm going for a 4.5 million defender right now, he would be my guy. I think that the safe option there, decent amount of creativity, and we've got Anderson potentially signing for Fulham as well, which could improve Fulham's defence, which again is really nice. So potential clean sheets in easier games, got some nice attacking potential. Really like this pick. Rico Lewis is the 4.5 million defender for those who like to take a bit more of a, not a risk, but like to play FPL a bit more aggressively. I think I would rather go for Lewis than a Mazraoui. I think certainly this next game, maybe the next couple of games, Lewis could be really effective, could be on for a big haul. He is playing so advanced. He's kind of inverting from the right back position into the attacking midfield position, which is really nice to see. And there's some huge potential there at 4.5 million. Maybe not a long-term pick, and you may find yourself going for him if you've got decent squad depth in your FPL team. If you don't have much depth in your FPL team and you're worried about the long-term prospects of Lewis, maybe you don't want to wildcard for a while, then maybe don't go for Lewis. But for some people, I think this is going to be a really nice pick. Doku, I like him. I like his minutes potential at the moment. I think this Ipswich game has a lot of potential. We do see Pep Guardiola playing Doku a lot in some of the slightly easier fixtures, and we've seen him thrive and get those mega scores. So if you do want to go for a high risk, high reward player, a player with a really high upside, then Doku could be your guy to go for. And Armstrong, really decent underlying numbers in game week 1 against Newcastle. I know Newcastle obviously playing with 10 men, but yeah, he looked like the player getting more chances than Brereton Diaz in the forward position. Just 5.5 million. I think he would possibly be the 5.5 million forward I would be going for now, to be honest, if I had a pick of the bunch. If you've got 6 million, maybe a Muniz would be a little bit better. But if you want that cheap forward, Armstrong, yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of potential there. So we'll put him in that category. And guys, that is going to be all of the players in today's tier list. If we have missed any players out who you would like to talk about, leave a comment down below with the name of the player you're thinking about bringing them in, and I will place them in where I think I would put them on this tier list, or how good they are as a transfer for game week 2. And guys, also let me know if you think I've got anything wrong. Do you think I should be moving any of these players to different categories? Would love to hear from you guys. Who should be going where? Do you think Joe Linton is a must buy? Do you think Diogo Jota is a trap and should be avoided? Yeah, love to hear from you guys. And yeah, guys, make sure you are leaving a like and subscribing if you have enjoyed this video. And yeah, we're just going to talk about some other stuff briefly at the end, but feel free to end the video now if you want to as well. That's fine. Okay, guys, yeah, kind of been dreading talking about this a little bit, but obviously haven't uploaded for the last couple of days, and I feel like I owe you an explanation of what's been going on. So basically, at the weekend, on Friday, I was at a fantasy football event in London, and off the back of that, at the weekend, someone had made a Reddit post, basically saying that they'd met me and had a bad experience with me, and thought that I'd maybe come across as a smug something. We'll not use the words. And kind of off the back of that Reddit post, there was a lot of hate, witch hunting, name calling, threats of violence aimed towards me, and it really did rock me, mostly because none of it was true. And the person who made the initial post about having said that they'd kind of interacted with me and had a bad experience, it turns out they just lied, and they posted again the next day saying, basically admitting, it wasn't true. I never actually spoke to him. I just kind of had a bad experience. I was too nervous to speak to people, and I was kind of maybe projected a little bit there. But of course, by that point, the damage was already done. Since then, I posted about this on Twitter, and the community and everyone has been super, super supportive. Everyone, I've had like, I don't know, like tens of people. I don't get out much, but the tens of people who I have met out in public have kind of come out and said, yeah, I've met you before, and had a really, really positive experience, and you were really nice, and really, you cared about me and my team, and you were polite and courteous, which is really good to hear, because, yeah, It rocked me, because one, I thought, have I been a horrible person to someone? Because I really didn't think I had. It turns out the person had lied, and I've got a lot of hate. And of course, that is part of the gig. When you are a content creator, you are going to have hate on the internet, blah, blah, blah. That is how things work. Of course it is. And I think the difficulty with this one is it wasn't true, and it was a lot. There was a lot, and it did rock me a little bit, rocked my confidence, and I didn't feel like making videos. I kind of wondered if I even should be making videos. Am I kind of prepared for this kind of, how the internet is these days? Waffling a little bit here, I know, but I didn't want to script it. I just wanted to kind of speak very honestly here, and say I want to make positive, upbeat videos, and for the last couple of days, I haven't been able to do that. I needed to take a couple of days to kind of look after myself and get in a better place, and hopefully I am getting towards that. But I love making FPL videos. It's my favorite thing to do in the world, and I really, really want to continue, and I'm not going to let some internet trolls making rumors up and stuff like that on the internet stop me. I'm really not. We're going nowhere. So yeah, back now, videos daily. Obviously, I've got some catching up to do, so there will be another video later today that I'll be working on now. But that's it, guys. That's basically what's been going on. So yeah, thank you for hearing me out, and I apologize for the lack of activity. I feel like I owe you some explanation on that one. But that's going to be the end of the video today, guys. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.